me do a few tricks, some old and then some new tricks. I'm very versatile, and if you're real good, I'll make you.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Today, I'm going to start out with a very serious message. Nobody is to donate anything to the Whoring for Goring GoFundMe account, which was set up at the request of certain people who wanted to make a contribution to the upkeep of Castle Goring. I have instructed GoFundMe to shut it down. I have done it so because I cannot trust GoFundMe. They have shown me with their recent conduct that not only would I be extremely ill-advised, I would actually be very stupid to trust them after I trusted them earlier this year to shut down the Thomas Markle GoFundMe account, which they did. And we are now going to be involved in a cross-Atlantic dispute, to put it politely, which is going to be no light matter, because it has emerged that not only is GoFundMe deliberately refusing to hand over information which they are by law obliged to hand over to me. Of course, they're doing that to protect themselves. But it has also emerged that in doing so, they are further colluding with suppressing any knowledge of the criminal activity that took place when the GoFundMe account of recent days was created by someone within their organization, which was clearly done to damage my reputation. It's a pity, because I actually thought GoFundMe was a reputable organization, and maybe it is, but it certainly is behaving as if it's not, and it certainly is going out of its way to protect its, shall we be polite and say, rogue employees. Very unfortunate. But what I have already discovered is any airy-fairy idea I had about GoFundMe being a basically charitable entity, which is, I've thought, and they pose as being effectively humanitarians. They are a business. They are a business that takes a cut. So they are actually a form of usurers, except they're not lending you money. They're tying you up in contracts so that you can raise money through their platform for yourself, and they take a cut. But we'll get to all of that in a minute, because I am in touch with my lawyers, and we are going to be considering all options, including calling in the police. This is not reserved to one side of the Atlantic either. It's reserved to both sides of the Atlantic. But we will get to all of that in a minute because people have been asking questions. There is no doubt in my mind, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, that this fraudulent account was clearly, deliberately set up to not only damage my reputation, but also with the collusion, connivance, and at the knowledge of people outside of GoFundMe. Because everything seems to have been done in a 2-week period. How could the newspapers have known about the fraudulent creation of a phony account unless somebody told them? Who created the fraudulent account? Clearly, it didn't happen by accident. It's not possible for things like that to happen by accident. So it was a deliberate act of sabotage, fraud, misrepresentation, and it is actually a criminal act. And I would have hoped that GoFundMe was going to have the good sense to respond to me in the responsible manner that I would have expected them to. Instead of which, they have not only tried to blow me off with hot air and, oh, trust us, it will never happen again. I trusted you the last time and it happened. So why would I trust you again? Number one. And number two, oh, we can't give you the information that you're legally entitled to because of privacy. Whose privacy? They're covering up for a fraudster. They're covering up a crime, as I had to point out to them. Haven't you heard of Richard Nixon? You're supposed to be an American company. I refer you back to the fate of Richard Nixon. Anyway, it would be nice if they had treated me with not only the respect that I am due, but I demand, because I don't pussyfoot around. It is outrageous that they could behave like this to anybody, and it is stupid that they would have thought that they could get away with it with me. Clearly, they didn't know who they were dealing with. Clearly. Or then they're so arrogant and impertinent that they thought they would be able to get away with it with impunity. Of course, the whole thing was a carefully orchestrated scheme. And we don't need to ask who would benefit from that scheme and who would be behind the thought and idea of creating a scheme like this. We don't need to ask. It's as obvious as the nose on your or my face. Presumably, the idiot at GoFundMe who was stupid enough to commit the criminal act of fabricating an account in my name didn't realize that there is a trail of everything and it will come out. They are going, and they then try to blow me off as if they're dealing with some little non-entity and a small fry and a piece of turd that has dropped from a great height. No, no, no. They will learn. They will learn by the end of this that they better treat everybody with respect. If only because they've had to start with me. I mean, outrageous. Shelley Belly says, I hope that GoFundMe established who the perpetrators are and that they are publicly outed. Disgusting behaviour. Well, they have assured me that they know who set up the account. And the account was set up by GoFundMe. But they're trying to cover up who did it by refusing to provide me with the identity of the individual or individuals who did it. That, of course, immediately suggests that this was done as a special favour to someone, so they're desperate to cover up, because it clearly has trickled down from the top. Or then they are afraid that their reputation is going to be justly damaged when people realise that lower down the totem pole, people can be reached, bribed, and induced to commit criminal acts. Either way, they know who's done it, and they're trying to cover up for who has done it. Shades of Richard Nixon? Well, maybe they're not old enough to know who Richard Nixon was or what happened to him. Fortunately, I am. Casa says, how can anyone reactivate a GoFundMe that's been closed? Does that mean they hacked into your email, codes, passwords, etc. you must need? I don't understand how it's possible. Well, GoFundMe has informed me in writing that my account wasn't hacked, which means that it was fraudulently created within GoFundMe using the information they had from when the real account was created. So the fake account was clearly created because it's a misrepresentation of me. It uses my name. It uses my banking details. It uses my email, all of which they have. Interesting, but I'm going to cover a lot of the ground via the questions. Sienna says, Dear Lizzie, who reactivated the account? This needs to be investigated ASAP, and whoever did it needs to be publicly outed and punished, together with their motives and the name or names of whoever initially instigated this action. I couldn't agree more. Please don't get too upset. Believe me, no matter how upset I get, it never affects my reason or my resolution. But thanks for your concern. Truth is threat to some people in this age of lies and deception. Well, it certainly is to certain public figures who expect us to pretend that they're wonderful when they are grifters of the highest order. And people like that indulge in criminal activities and try to bring down those who are rightly calling them to account for their abuse of all decencies. God bless you and thank you for your invaluable updates. Well, let me tell you something, my dear. Thank you for that. I don't mind getting mad. I don't like it, but I don't mind it. Anger serves a purpose. And anger, if you use it wisely, is a good thing to possess. But I don't believe in fulminating. I use my anger to hit at the target. You know, they say don't get mad, get even. I don't believe in getting even. I want justice. I want them to clean up their corrupt activities, and if they are as corrupt, in a more widespread way than has hitherto been realised, I want them to either clean it up or be shut down. They're a wonderful money spinner. It's basically a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful money spinner if it's done properly. If they are knocked out of the running, I have no doubt that there will be others who will fill their shoes very readily and will be more deserving of making money off the backs of other people. I intend to expose the treachery, the mendacity, the irresponsibility, the corporate duplicity, and the lack of ethics that GoFundMe have in the last few weeks shown as a result of this incident exists within their company. If they are just another bunch of self-posturing posers who are going to be virtue signaling, look how wonderful we are, look what wonderful things we're doing to help out people who need to be funded, while not only pocketing a good percentage of the takings for themselves, but also, while doing so, behaving with bad faith and behaving criminally, I think it's time for the harsh light of exposure to be shone upon them. They're arrogant, they're impertinent, and they're dumb enough to think that because they tie up everybody who enters into any GoFundMe enterprise with them in all sorts of legalese, that they would be able to get away with this. Except, you see, I didn't enter into a contract with them the second time around with this account. I didn't enter into contract with them. I didn't know about it. I cannot create an account, and I am not liable under contract law to a fraud that is perpetrated in my name. They suffer the consequences. I have none. They should have thought of that before they tried to blow me off. Maria J. says, Bradshaw says, Dear Lady C, how could someone reactivate a closed account? How is it possible? This is called hacking, isn't it? But this can be, and this is where she hits the nail on the head, but this can be investigated because everything that is done electronically has a footprint. That's right. I hope you will report the incident to the police. We are considering all options. Believe me, we are considering all options. And they've chosen the wrong person to muck around with. Because clearly, if they have done this before, they've got away with it. Because the people had no platform. I've got a platform. Oh my dear. How are they going to get around that one? Oh, I forgot. They were going to assist in destroying my career and destroy my credibility and destroy my reputation. So you see, they were going to assist in shutting me down. via a criminal enterprise. Anyway, yes, it does have a footprint. I hope you will report the incident to the police, because someone either hacked your assistant's computer or phone, whoever set up and controlled the account and was compromised. They have assured me the account wasn't hacked. I'm happy to take them at their word. That means they are responsible for the whole creation. That means they are 100% responsible for the criminal activity that has gone on. But I'm considering all my options. As I said a little earlier, I have already advised them to be aware of the consequences of criminal activity, and when it's found out, they try to brazen it out with a cover-up. I have reminded them, or pointed out to them if they didn't know, as I said before, about Richard Nixon. But you see, they are arrogant and impertinent enough to think that because they have 2,797,000 pages, that's a bit of an exaggeration, by the way, but you get the point, of a comprehensive terms and conditions contract that ties up everybody in all sorts of nonsense, where you have you're obliged to go by their non-disclosure terms. 60-day cooling off period before you institute legal proceedings. That you are required to agree to submit to arbitration, and that any agreement you're muzzled with a confidentiality clause, and in the meantime you've got to keep your mouth shut. Well, none of that applies with me. The problem for them is they have already confirmed in writing that I had no contract with them, and therefore they had no right to fabricate a fake account impersonating me and using my name and my details, clearly to destroy my reputation. By their own admission, already in writing, it's all there in black and white. I mean, they're really dumb. But I've discovered that the bigger a company, the dumber the people are when they are confronted with their wrongdoing. Eve Pollard at the Sunday Express, she thought she was just going to mow me down and ravish me. She lost her job. Alison Phillips, another newspaper editor, full of her importance and power. Where is she now? She's out of her job. All the newspaper companies in this country, the 5 major newspaper companies, and Norwich Union, the largest insurance company in this country, all thought, oh well, we'll just be able to mow her down. I don't know what makes people think I look as if I'm easily mowed down. They've obviously never heard of David and Goliath. But their arrogance is insuperable, and their arrogance is also shored up with false hope. Well, we're going to fight it. She's going to run out of steam. She's going to run out of money. Fingers crossed she's going to get run over by a truck. She's going to drop dead of a heart attack. Delusional stupidity is what it is. Well, by their own agreement, it's all there in writing, my contract with them terminated in August. So I'm not bound by any terms or conditions. And I can sing like a bird, and I intend to do so. And if they don't like it, sue me. Sue me, because I'm going to be suing them. What are they going to sue me for? Breach of contract? Are they now going to fabricate the contract that they have already acknowledged doesn't exist? I wouldn't put anything past these people, by the way, because I have demanded information from them. And I've also told them to kick it upstairs to their legal department. And I pointed out to them that I know that they have somebody from compliance or the legal department breathing down the neck of the operative who has been dealing with me. These people are insane. I recommended to them that they Google me and just spend 20 minutes investigating my background to see that they've chosen the wrong person to try to victimize. It's not the first time, and maybe it won't be the last time. But everybody who's tried to victimize me has discovered I'm not an ideal victim. In fact, I'm no victim at all. By the time I'm through with them, they will know what ethics and honor should be about. Outrageous. Just an opinion rarely says. Dear Lady C, there is at least one YouTube channel who created a post claiming Samantha as well as Thomas Jr. are pocketing money from the GoFundMe and claim they are using you. I remember I unfollowed them. These are YouTubers who are supposed to be Meghan Harry criticizers. I believe I posted something about this to you before. I'm sorry to hear they are continuing to cause trouble. They've tried to cause trouble. They've caused trouble. They would have loved to have caused more trouble than they have. But now I believe in a boomerang effect. The trouble is bouncing back. As for the insignificant little YouTubers with their 3 and 5 and 8,000 followers, I wouldn't condescend to acknowledge them. Why would I give them the oxygen of recognition and therefore, as a result of it, increase their following? No, thank you very much. That dumb I'm not. But what these people don't realize is that everything is traceable. Thomas Markle Sr. has already put me in touch with someone in Australia who has had private investigators on to some of these channels and now has, I think it's called IP addresses. But whatever they have said or done doesn't alter the fact that GoFundMe had absolutely no right to falsify an account that they themselves, by their own acknowledgement, set up in my name. That's a criminal act. That's a breach of fiduciary duty. That's a breach of contract law if you're in contract with them. That's a breach of all sorts of corporate ethics on both sides of the Atlantic and various other laws. That is a breach of regulatory matters on both sides of the Atlantic. I'm not sidetracking with some non-entity who is sucking up to pretending to be anti-Harry and Meghan when they're pro-Harry and Meghan. I couldn't care less. And as for Harry and Meghan, they're getting their comeuppance. And they deserve it. And am I afraid of them? Do I look as if I'm afraid of them? Do I think they have anything to do with this? I'm not even asking you to read my mind. The answer couldn't be clearer. But I am not Dan Wooten, and I am not Piers Morgan. Piers was dumb enough to walk out when that bitch Caroline McCall told him that he should apologise. He walked out. I wouldn't have walked out. I hold my ground. Dan, they victimised Dan. They destroyed Dan's column with the Mail, and they destroyed Dan's programme on GB News. Well, Dan had a vulnerability. He had a vicious, nasty boyfriend from many, many years ago who they obviously reached and suborned. These are people who are very into suborning. Small fry. That's what they do. They reach small fry and they use them as bait for bigger fish. Well, I have no vulnerabilities. That's their problem. They've had to fabricate something. They couldn't find an ex-boyfriend or an ex-this or an ex-that because they don't exist. I am proud to be cleaner than clean. And let them try to suborn anybody, because anybody who has crossed me, I have made absolutely sure that I dispense with in such a way that I'm in the right and the fact that they're in the wrong is very clearly realizable and provable. So, they've made a huge mistake this time. But let's see if they come up with something else from someone else. Let's see. Because that will simply make it a hell of a lot worse for them. Because they, Harry and Meghan, may think they're very clever. I'm Rachel Zane. I slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again, because I'm an uppity so-and-so. Well, you can be as uppity as you want, sweetie pie. I've got news for you. You don't cow or frighten me. I think I've made my position clear. Laura Marlowe says, Dear Lizzie, could it be possible that this rumour regarding the GoFundMe for Thomas Markle was started in California? Could it be possible that the sun rises in the east and starts in the west? And sets in the west? Could it be possible? Anything is possible. Perhaps someone was upset that you organised this birthday gift to Mr. Markle. I'm sure that there are many people who are upset that I exist, and that there are many people who have thought, we'll just have a go. We'll prevail where all else has and all others have failed. Let's see about that one. Perhaps someone has said that you organised this as a birthday gift to Mr. Markle. Just trying to figure out where such a treacherous idea could have been thought up. I don't need to even spend a minute figuring it out. I only need to follow the trail of slime that the slug leaves as it crosses the garden from on the stone slab, as it slithers across, taking yet more filth with it. Did anyone give you any info on how or where that got started? Love your programs. Oh, yes, I have a lot of information. How much I will be using and when I will be using it is another matter. And I have a lot less information now than I will be having when my investigators are through. And when people provide me with information, but I already have enough information to nail those something or the others to the post. Let me point out that the Markles didn't get the money. They don't get any money. YouTube knows, sorry, not YouTube, GoFundMe knows that. GoFundMe, I tried to get them when after I'd set it up. I didn't realize that Thomas Markle couldn't receive the money. It's when I wanted to hand over the pot, so to speak, to him, that GoFundMe informed me that I had to receive the money, and then the money had to be cleared through my accounts and handed over to Thomas Markle. I didn't want to do that. And I made it absolutely clear to them that I didn't want to do it partly for tax reasons, primarily for tax reasons, because I didn't want HMRC deciding that the money I had received on his behalf was taxable, and I would have to pay the tax on it. Because that generous, I'm afraid I'm not, neither to the Markles nor to the British state. Sorry. I make no pretense to that. Let's put it that way. And then I spoke to my legal advisors and they said, no, it's fine. Just make it, you are receiving the money in trust for him. You're not liable for tax for it. So I made it absolutely clear to GoFundMe that on that basis, as long as we were clear about the fact that I was receiving the money in trust for Thomas Markle, that I would then hand it over to him. But I wanted them to cut me out of the equation altogether. They know this. The public doesn't know this. You know, people have written into me saying, oh, they think that Thomas Sr. is fine, Samantha is fine, Thomas Jr. isn't, oh, Thomas Jr. isn't, Samantha isn't, Thomas Sr. is, Thomas Sr. isn't, Thomas Jr. might be, Samantha possibly. All variations on the theme, all of which is rubbish, because the Markles know only too well that they don't get the money. I get the money. Whoever set this up knew that the Markles don't get the money. So when they, YouTubers and people out there asking questions, are thinking that the Markles could possibly have got the money, we all know the Markles can't get the money. GoFundMe knows the Markles can't get the money. Who doesn't know that the Markles can't get the money? Only the general public. So you see, it's a very clever con to not only disparage the Markles, but also to accuse all of us of somehow effecting a con. So the con artists have created a con, which they are then trying to make out that the honourable people are benefiting from, when the only people who are going to be benefiting from the destruction of their reputations and my reputation is, I don't even need to mention the names. It couldn't be more obvious who they are. What also makes it really interesting is that the public would not have known this, nor would other people in YouTube, unless there was collusion between between somebody in GoFundMe or somebody with knowledge of how GoFundMe works has provided that information. Also, and that has provided the information to the pot stirrers who might have helped to set up or whatever. But the average pot stirrer doesn't know this. So they are piling in while the smug con artists, the grifters, the drug-addled fraudsters, and the insane and stupid people who are behind all of this and who have colluded in this, because they cannot be sane and they cannot be intelligent, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. But you see, they did it and they thought they would be able to get away with it. But I'll get to that in a second. Chris Shannon says, "Dear Lady Colin Campbell, your channel is absolutely delightful and I have learned much from listening to you. Johnny Depp had hired an excellent psychiatrist during his trial to evaluate Amber Heard. Wouldn't it be interesting if someone would hire someone of that caliber to evaluate Meghan Markle and share her findings on your or Dan Wooten's channels? Your fur babies are beautiful and it's nice to see them cuddling you. Is there going to be a Treasure the Cat #2? Best wishes." I don't replace. Each person or entity I love, and certainly each pet that I love, is unique. My stepmother-in-law called all of her poodles either Louis or Alphonse. I'm afraid each dog and cat has its own identity. But with regard to, I wouldn't be doing something like this publicly. There are psychiatrists who have already commented publicly on the fact that they consider Meghan to be a narcissistic sociopath, or some have even said psychopath. Certainly, if laws are broken, we can use psycho instead of socio. But until we have proof that somebody is breaking the law, I think let's be polite and stick to socio. I wouldn't. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to be gained. It's all out there already. You would simply be having somebody wrap it up for you. And I think it's a good idea. Maybe Dan could do it. I wouldn't be doing it. But I want to make another point on the matter of the way the GoFundMe fraud has been perpetrated at my expense. All of this was done in a 2 or so week period. They not only created the fraudulent account, but whoever on the inside created it had colleagues on the outside ready and waiting to take benefit of its existence. That shows collusion. That actually shows criminal conspiracy. Not conspiracy theories, criminal conspiracy, which is a totally different thing. The proof of that is that within too short a period of time after the account was set up and payments started to come in, Martin Robinson, who is evidently the chief reporter of the Mail Online, was informed about this and contacted me. Now, he's a journalist, and journalists don't have to reveal their sources. But the mere fact that a reporter was tipped off about it proves that there was an actual plan, not only created, it's actually a genuine conspiracy. And then the light switch is flicked, and Martin Robinson is going to be the one who issues the coup de grace to me. And I am going to roll over, and I am going to be completely annihilated, because he's going to say to me, he has information incidentally, which I don't even know exists at this point, notwithstanding the fact that the account has been set up in my name. Isn't that interesting? That he has information that my Thomas Markle GoFundMe account is active again. It's receiving donations, and have I sent them on to Thomas Markle. So, whoever is behind this knows that I have to send the money on to Thomas Markle. Do you see how stupid they are? The YouTubers that they have acting on their behalf to create suspicion and to be fulminating, they don't know that I have to send. But whoever is orchestrating this, they know I have to send the money to Thomas Markle. And I'm supposed to then say, oh, I don't know anything about this, blah, 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 which is exactly what I would have said. And then he's going to write, oh, well, of course, she denied it all. What would you expect of her? Blah, blah, blah. The woman is a thief. The woman is a con artist. They're all con artists. Long live Meghan and Harry, god and goddess of honesty. Except it didn't work out like that. They were so dumb, they couldn't wait a week or two. So impatient. You talk about cack-handed. If my contempt for them is obvious, it's because I have nothing but contempt for them. It is the most cack-handed, stupid, badly executed plot that one can think of. They have to be drug-addled or totally brainless or totally arrogant, or maybe all three. Certainly, they all thought they're so big and powerful that they could get away with it. Well, they're not going to get away with a damn thing, because I am going to go hell for leather. And as far as I'm concerned, justice is going to be done. And I am going to make sure that I am the engine of justice. And if they all need to be shut down, they must be shut down. They tried to shut me down. well, they're not going to be able to shut me down because I have done nothing wrong, either morally, legally, and certainly not criminally. They are up to here in criminal activity, immoral activity, unethical behavior. I mean, you couldn't make any of this up. Jill Berger says, Lady C, since you have had so much experience with your mother being a narcissist, what would normally happen after a narcissistic collapse? Do they continue to spiral out or something else? Thank you for your wisdom. My experience of people who have narcissistic collapse is that when all their plots and schemes amount to naught, they withdraw, regroup, retrench, and come back again. But it's one of the few times in their normal existence that they don't have sang-froid. To those of you who don't speak French, cool blood. Blood is cool. So they don't have cool blood. The blood boils over the way yours or mine would if we did any of the disgusting things that they do. Their blood only boils when they have totally failed. And they have, for one of the few occasions in their lives, a genuine emotional response. But don't think the emotion has one thing to do with anything moral or ethical or any of the higher emotions. It's all to do with rage and self-preservation. And how can they swing things so that they will be able to prevail yet again? And in the meantime, they usually hit the bottle or decide they're gonna march with Colombian powder or whatever their crutch of choice is. That's how they behave. People say they're more dangerous then. They're always dangerous. The thing about people like that is, once you know they're dangerous, never underestimate them. And don't allow them to underestimate you. So, Faux Pinky 2, I love some of these names, says, I don't see this saga going on much longer. They're not referring to my saga with GoFundMe. They're referring to the Meghan farcical act. Let me entertain you. Oh, let me make you smile. Let me do a few tricks. Some old and then some new tricks. I'm very versatile. Well, entertainers are very versatile, especially if they do it in a particular way and using particular talents. I don't see this saga going on much longer. She's done, and she knows it. That's narcissistic collapse. But she's hoping she'll be able to revive herself, Lazarus-like. Harry might be saved if he can be bundled quietly into care, but Madam is on her own. Well, Madam is certainly on her own. Let us see, because Madam is very clever in getting everybody else to do her dirty work and always setting things up in such a way that the trail never leads back to its point of origin. And when it does, that the powers that be cover up for her. Let's see if that is going to happen hereafter. Let's see. All I can say is, where I'm concerned, I consider it my moral duty, more than ever, to address the issues that Meghan Markle's reprehensible conduct raise. Those issues deserve our attention, and the only way people like her will be prevented from prevailing in what I regard as their destructiveness is to be called out. And I intend to make sure that if I can succeed in calling her out to the point where she finally gets her just deserts, I will be only too delighted to do so. This isn't a personal matter. This is a spiritual matter. Ultimately, personal feelings are far less important in life than the struggle between good and evil, between constructiveness and destructiveness, between those who enhance life for others and those who use others to the detriment of the others and to suck all goodness for themselves. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in, and feel free to ask me anything. I am perfectly happy to answer it. Thank you so much. Godspeed and goodbye. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Godspeed.